Welcome, everyone. Happy New Year, everyone. I'm Ryan English. My two friends are.
Hello, my name is Allen County Castle.
And I'm DeWitt Taylor.
Today, I'd like to welcome Major Tim Meyer, the Undersecretary of the Detroit Area Commander of the Salvation Army. We hope to learn today of the vast services the Salvation Army provides to those in need. Welcome, Major. Welcome.
Thank you, Ryan. Glad to be here.
So,
Welcome.
Hello, Dave.
what is your position with the Salvation Army?
Well, my position is General Secretary, which in layman's terms would be like a Chief Operating Officer. And the other part of my title is Metro Area Commander. So there are 13 main Salvation Armies in the Detroit area, and that's my primary responsibility, is to kind of oversee and help support those ministries and operations.
So, what is the difference between an officer and a soldier and an advocate in the Salvation Army?
Okay, an officer is an ordained minister in the Salvation Army. Every lead administrator in the Salvation Army is also an officer. And in the Salvation Army, a soldier is a member, just like a church member. An officer would be the leader of that congregation or that. So you have soldiers, officers, and then we have lots of volunteers and adherents and supporters. That's anyone in the community can be part of the Salvation Army in that way.
How long have you been with the Salvation Army?
I attended the Salvation Army as a little boy. It was my church when I was a young lad. And then I went into the Air Force after high school, and before I left the Air Force, I kind of rejoined the Salvation Army because I was seeking to do something to help myself, to get right with God, and also to help mankind.
How and why did you join?
Well, I joined because I saw it as the best combination of expression between showing my love for God and showing my love to my fellow mankind. And that was the primary reason.
Is there any other different affiliation with any religion, any religious groups?
We would be part of the Protestant faith.
Okay.
And so very similar. The founder of the Salvation Army was a Methodist minister. And so a lot of our beliefs are right along with Wesleyan Methodist theology.
When, where, and why was the Salvation Army formed?
Well, back in the 1860s in England, a long time ago and a long distance from here, but there was this Methodist minister, as I mentioned. His name was William Booth, and he wanted to share God's love to all people, but he saw that it was very hard to talk to someone about God's great love for them when they hadn't eaten in 3 days, or when they didn't have a good job, or when they couldn't care for their families. And so he decided the best way to do that was to help with their physical needs, sometimes their emotional needs, and things like that. And then he could talk to them about God's love. And so he demonstrated God's love at the same time as he talked to them about God's love. And that was in 1865 in London, England.
What is the mission of the Salvation Army?
The mission of the Salvation Army is really threefold. The simple way to say it is we like to save souls and grow saints and serve suffering humanity. Another way to put it is that we share the gospel, the good news of Jesus Christ, and we meet human needs in His name without discrimination.
How is that mission accomplished?
It really depends where we are located, how we accomplish that ministry. For instance, here in the United States, we are well known for our drug and alcohol rehab centers. We're well known for our assistance at Christmas time, for food pantries, all kinds of things like that. In other countries, for instance, if you were to go to Jamaica, the Salvation Army would be known there for its School for the Blind, which is a very famous ministry there. If you were to go to Africa, we would be known for our children's hospitals. If you were to go to the country of New Zealand, we would be known mainly as a church, like the church down the corner, because that's how the Salvation Army functions there. In the United States, we did have hospitals for a long time, but in the 50s and 60s, we kind of got out of that business. because it got to be very complicated. The laws were changing, and there were people who were doing that type of ministry very well. So we got more into social service ministries. And here in the United States, we do lots of work with young people through our camps, through our what we call our core and community centers, which would be known as local churches. And then we do some specialized things in the Detroit area, such as our Bed and Bread program that we just had a big fundraiser, and we go out on 3 routes, 365 days a year, and that just continues all year long. Different places emphasize different things. Some of our places have gymnasiums. My very first appointment was Gary, Indiana, and there we had a wheelchair basketball team that met there every single week. And then other places I've been, they didn't have gymnasiums, but we have been known for feeding the poor. Some places do very good with clothing people, with giving them clothes through our thrift stores and things like that.
Well, that's very nice.
So whenever we put cans out for Thanksgiving, that's for the Salvation Army to donate to the poor?
That is. There are lots of different people who help us raise funds and help us to get equipment and goods that we give to other people. So, for instance, Scouting for Food is a very famous program that started in conjunction with the Salvation Army years ago. The Letter Carriers Union, it's Stamp Out Hunger. It's gone by a number of things where you put your food out by your mailbox. Those things go to the Salvation Army as well as other food pantries. And so it just depends on which community you live in where those canned goods will go. But many of them find their way to the Salvation Army, and we in turn give them out free of charge to people in need.
Oh, that's nice. That's a good thing to do.
That is so cool.
Yeah, it's fun to be a part of. That's one of the reasons that I joined the Salvation Army, because I saw the practical way that we help people who are in need.
Yeah. What areas of needs does the Salvation Army provide services to, and how are those services provided?
Well, again, one of our most well-known ones in this area is the Bed and Bread program. I talked a little bit about the trucks that go around to the neighborhoods, but many of our Salvation Armies, such as the one near your studio here in Pontiac, has a big food pantry, and they give away thousands of pounds of food every week to people who are in need. We have programs that help educate and young people, so that help them with their after-school studies. We have character-building programs that work on their physical needs, such as recreation, as well as we have a residential summer camp that isn't too far from here. And then many of our Corps have day camps in the summer where they have a whole variety of things, from field trips to feeding, to recreation, and all kinds of things like that take place. We also shelter many people. Thousands of people a night find shelter at the Salvation Army, whether it be because they have drug and alcohol rehabilitation or treatment needs, or some of them because they just are homeless and they need a place to stay. And so we have a family shelter, and we have several shelters in the Detroit area.
Cool. Does the Salvation Army provide any services directly directly for the special needs community?
One of the things that I'm proudest about in that vein is our VIP camp. Usually that stands for Very Important Person. In the Salvation Army, in our terminology, that's Visually Impaired Persons Camp. And so at our Salvation Army camp near here, we have a program like that. It's for adults, and that takes place every year. It's been going on for decades, and it runs the same time as our senior citizens camp. And it's a week.
Nice.
It's a week long. We really try to meet the needs as they present themselves. So, for instance, again, in my very first appointment, there was a need for people with some physical limitations to have a wheelchair basketball practice facility. And so we opened our gym for that. In general, when we find someone who has unique needs or special needs, we try to meet those needs so that they fit in with the programs that we have existing.
Well, that's very nice of you.
And that's pretty cool.
It is cool.
Yeah.
It is nice to give a charity.
What are the differences? What are the differences, if any, between the Salvation Army, Goodwill, and the Red Cross?
Well, there are lots of similarities. All of us exist to help serve humanity, and I believe we all do it as best we can without discrimination. The Red Cross has been in existence for a long time, and they help in disasters, as does the Salvation Army. They help a lot with blood services and for things like that, and you'd really need to speak to someone in the Red Cross to know all the things that they do. They have served many people through the years. Goodwill Industries is also another good organization. They help people, especially with job training and with life skills. It's a very green company in that they take things that people would otherwise be throwing away or discarding, and they reuse them. And so they have lots of stores to help with that and job training. The Salvation Army also does some of those same things. So for instance, if there were, when there is a disaster such as a fire in the community, and let's say a big fire that's an apartment fire, the Red Cross might provide a gift card so someone could have a few nights of shelter. The Salvation Army would pick up after that shelter time is over, and then we would continue to help them. We would help them with clothing and possibly with furniture items so that they could set up new living situations somewhere else. And then we have other social services that could help for needs for their children, food, all kinds of things like that.
So,
You characterize organizations contributing services or work together to meet the needs of the communities they serve.
Well, the ones that you just mentioned?
yeah.
Yes, I do. I think that that they do adapt to the local needs. And for instance, when I was in my second appointment, we worked with lots of organizations. We worked with the Red Cross. We worked with the YMCA. We worked with Goodwill. We worked with St. Vincent de Paul. I think that there's enough need in every community for everyone to have something to do and something significant to do. And I like to believe that the Salvation Army takes what we do best and we try and do it the very best that we can. We try to make the dollars and the gifts that we get, the donations we receive, go as far as they can. Does that answer your question, Aaron?
Yep.
Okay.
It does a lot.
Okay.
Thanks.
I want to make sure I'm getting what you're looking for.
Okay.
Okay.
How is the Salvation Army funded?
The Salvation Army, David, the Salvation Army is funded primarily through private donations. You will see lots of kettles out at Christmas time. We receive funds directly from people that way. Many people will mail a check, or now they'll give online. They'll give digitally through a website or through a text to give. There are corporations and foundations that fund us, and that's primarily where we get our funding. We do receive some state or government funding for some of our housing programs, but most of what we operate on are the private donations that we receive from people in the community.
Every year we see the red kettles during the holidays. All the funds donated to the red kettles for any special purposes.
The funds that come into those red kettles help us to operate year-round. It does help us to buy food and gifts for people at Christmas time, but it also helps us to operate year-round, and that's why the goal is as high as it is. In the Metro Detroit area, this year the goal was $8 million for Christmas fundraising. And so that not only helps us operate at Christmas time when we are well known, when we're seen in the media, when we're seen at the Royal Park Hotel, which you've been to, I know.
I have. I've been there.
And other places like that. So at Christmas time, we are seen a lot on television. We're heard a lot on radio, maybe on the media. So we do most of our fundraising at Christmas time. And the money that goes in those red kettles stays in the community. That's important for you to know. It's important for those who watch this program to know. that the money that is given stays locally and helps your neighbors who are in need.
Well, because you see, with the Salvation Army, we wouldn't have people getting help in the world. It's important.
I mean, I story about like a Christmas Carol.
There you go.
I'm sure our viewers would like to know what are some of the most unique gifts made in the red kettles.
Oh, that's a good question. I was just reading about that today. I know in Bay City this year we had a couple gold Krugerrands given to us, very expensive gold coins, and those then we try and get the highest dollar value we can for those, whether it's from a bank or through an auction, someone who wants to get those. I have seen many rings put into our Christmas kettles.
Rings?
Rings, yes. And because it's the size of a coin, sometimes I don't know if it's on purpose or it's an accident. But I know that we always advertise that a ring was found, and if you lost it, we keep it in the location in the kettle bucket, so if someone comes back, we can give it to them. We receive that. Every once in a while we'll receive some odd things like a wooden nickel or things like that.
What?
Yeah. But the most unique thing that I think we've received are gold coins in the Christmas kettles.
How?
Have the recent changes to the tax law had an adverse impact on donations?
That is a very good question, David.
Welcome.
The tax laws were changed last year, right before Christmas, and not 2019, but Christmas 2018, we did see quite a decline. As soon as those were announced, we saw a decline in our mail-in giving, in our larger gifts that come from people who are planning their estates, people who would be doing what's it called, itemized deductions from their taxes. There is a way to work through that. So you can give a large amount every 2 years and do better on than the standard deductions. But those tax laws do have an impact on people who do financial planning for the Salvation Army. But we have some experts at the Salvation Army. If they were to contact us, we can help them figure that out so they still can receive the tax advantages that they're looking for, as well as make a significant contribution to the Salvation Army.
So not so not only could you donate money, so not only could you donate money to those white kennels, but you could also donate objects too.
Yes, we have thrift stores in the Salvation Army.
Oh.
And every one of those thrift stores, when you go to a Salvation Army thrift store, you'll see the red shield there. Sometimes they're called family stores. The things that there are in those stores we receive for free from the giving public. And we do put a price tag on them so that we can fund the rehabilitation programs that we have. And in some locations, they go directly to the local church and community center so that we can provide housing and food for people. We also will, when someone comes in for need, we can write them a voucher from our core and community center so that they can go to that thrift store and get items of clothing for there. And if there's been a fire, or if there's been a natural disaster there's been a flood, and it's not just that their pipe leaked and it flooded, but if there was a wide-scale flood and someone lost equipment that's in their basement that they need to live, we can help with that as well.
So the donations help with all of this stuff.
Yes, they are tremendous help to us. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
What are the ways a person can make a donation to the Salvation Army?
Well, the best way to make a donation to the Salvation Army, a financial donation, is by sending it to us. You can also, of course, if it's Christmas time, you make a donation in those red kettles. We do have a website that a lot of people prefer to go to. A lot of people now give through their banks or their credit cards directly on the internet, and that would be 877, or you call, I'm sorry, if you're going to call in a donation, it'd be 877-SAL-MISH. I'm looking at someone who's helping me with my information. So if you want to call in a donation, you call it 877-SAL-MICH. If you want to make an online donation, you go to salmich.org, and that is a place where you can go, salmich.org, and if you click on that, it'll take you to a place where you can donate money. You also can bring money to a local Salvation Army, and again, at the Christmas time, put it in the red kettles.
All right.
Awesome.
It's close.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for the wonderful interview, Major. It is clear that you offer very important services to all of our community. It is clear that the Salvation Army services fit well within the community corridor mission statement approving information that will assist those with special needs. Ryan?
You know, ladies and gentlemen, please donate, give to this charity. It's a good charity. It's a good people. It's important to support any local charity. And remember, give as much as you can. I'm Ryan Nicholas Gray. My two friends are.
My name is Aaron Castle. You've been watching Community Corner on ONTV, CMN, and YouTube.
I'm David DeWitt. Thank you for watching, and good night.
Good night. Let's get them on Community Corner.